All right, let's move on to show and tell. Why don't we start over here on this table, John? Yeah.
Fun. This is a great way to carry a ship. Built in hand. Last month I brought, where's the camera?
Right there.
This thing's, anyway. Last month I brought this haul of the pilot boat to John Estill. Doesn't that stay down like that?
I usually have that one set up pointing to the room. The other one has more adjustments.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I got it pretty good. But and at the time, I had just put the roughed in the pieces for the bulwarks, and it was a sight. It was wood hanging all over the place and squared off. But from last month to this month, I was able to finish the bulwarks, cut them down to the right height. Like, I don't know, my fingers in the way. Cut them down to the right height here. And the two pieces at the stern, port and starboard, were fitted on as solid pieces and then carved to shape because of the types of curves and whatnot. And I didn't want any stress in the wood. So I put those on and carved them to shape. Then, after that was done, I proceeded to lay off the straking lines for the plating. Now, I started this project, somebody asked me, I started this project back in 2000, I think it was, or 2001, by starting to put the data together to see if there was enough information to build the model. And I found enough, obviously. And one of the pieces of information is the museum here has the plating half model that was made for building the original ship. The ship was built down at Newport News Shipbuilding. This is their hull number 12, something like 1892. I'm not sure about the date. Anyway, I took the information off of that plating model for the strakes runs and everything. And in the ensuing 30 years or 23 years since I took that information off, actually, take it back. I did the research information in about 96. So it's almost 30 years old information. I lost half of it, where I'm getting at. But through the two photos that I have that roughly show the plating and the little bit of information that I still had, I was able to, what I thought, recreate the locations of the strakes. But I wanted to double check it with plating half model. So this past Tuesday, I was able to go see that model again. And all I did was take a couple of photographs so that I could match the photographs with what I did here to see if I needed to tweak any of the lines. And I was real happy to see that the only thing that I really needed to tweak was back here at the stern. It shows up. This strake right here, this lower strake, the garboard, at about a position right here, it takes off parallel to the keel. And then there's a fashion plate that will cover the shaft log once the shaft log's put in place. And that's really the only change that I need to make, what I've laid off here for this hull. And now that that's done and I'm happy with what I have, I'll add the shaft log, and then I'll add not patented, but I'll add my paper straking to this model so that it follows what I've currently been doing with several others. And but that's where I am to date.
30 years.
Another 30 years will be done.
All right, very good, thanks. Very good. All right, who's next over here? Patrick?
No. Happy. Practice your Mandarin, buddy.
Sean, you got nothing to show us?
Since I can't get into the Italian
today.
now, it is now Chinese. And the only problem is there's nothing but just this and trying to figure it out. No way of anything.
what he's holding up is the same picture of, that was in the logbook of the plans. Camera.
Ed,
So,
can you bring this up so it'll be on the screen?
there we are. There's the overall view. And here is the IKEA step-by-step instructions.
There's that.
All annotated in Mandarin, I assume. And, well, you go. And then here's the model he makes.
That is a nightmare.
No, it's a pretty nice model.
Looks
Get right down to it.
If you use the Heinz Schiller method, just burn the plans and nobody can
Yeah,
Told him
There you
to
go.
keep complaining about the various English or Chinese or Italian, the next one will be in Braille.
Yeah.
so
There's
There's the other
That's
side.
the only thing I can do anymore.
You have to think about that for a minute, don't you?
in the scale,
Yeah.
1 to 70, I don't know where you come up with that. It's
Very common scale.
very common scale.
That has to be plank, right?
What was that, Mort?
That has to be plank, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It won't float otherwise.
What
Yeah,
size plane?
that's kind of like the picture I saw on Facebook the other day of a gear shifter that had Braille where it said reverse 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's right.
Saw that one.
Yeah.
No.
It's like, I don't know why there'd be ship out instructions in Braille.
Okay, anyone else in-house has something to share? In-house, alrighty. Mort, how about you?
I want to thank Gene for just showing the model of the destroyer escort, because he opened my eyes to the figures. I don't know if you can see, but I put about 40 figures on my ship, in various, doing various, chores around the tasks around the ship. My only regret is that he didn't do it sooner, because the rigging lines blocked me from putting a lot more on. But it really opens up the ship and gives it a whole different dimension. It really brings it to life. I don't know what you can see. I have a couple of pictures on my website on Model Ship World on the build. But it was amazing what it did.
None
It
of them are
really
used.
was.
They're aligned.
I'm sorry.
Any of them in the head?
Okay.
All right.
Oh, he's got.
There he is.
Oh, yeah.
Marines guarding.
You see, I put a couple of Marines on there also in front of the wardroom and in front of the Admiral's quarters. It was really nice. It's really great. I mean, it's a whole different dimension. It really brings the ship to life. I mean, you can see it from Gene's destroyer escort more so than this.
Oh, we can see quite a few figures there. It looks great.
Thank you. I put about 40 figures on. I would have put more on, but I couldn't get into some of the nooks and crannies because of the rigging lines.
Well, the rest of them are.
Where did you get your figures from?
I think I got them about, I wanted 20 years ago, maybe from, I think it was Michigan Toy Soldiers. And I went online again to look, but I couldn't find any more. There aren't many 196 figures. The only ones that I saw were from, I think, Chris Whitten's website, but his was a gun crew. And I didn't want a gun crew because I wanted them doing various poses on the ship. What I did was I attached coils to some of the men. And then from the coils that the men were holding, I put lead lines to some of the coils on the deck to give it a little bit more life. But you really have to make it a little more lifelike. But you really have to look close to see it all. But it's there. So, but again, thank you, Gene. You're the best. I really appreciated it.
All right, Mark. Checks in the mail. Tom, how about you? Got something to show us, update us?
Yeah, let me do it real quick. Let me just turn the turn the camera around. All right. And I gotta kill my background. Oh, wrong thing. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to choose virtual background. None. Okay. All right. So here is RMS Titanic. And getting a little bit closer to it. I have the deck houses just about done. Actually, they are done. I think I told you folks about the research work done by Robert Reed. Okay, and most of these air handlers, the vents are 3D printed, the cowl vents, but the other equipment is mostly modified or scratch built because the kit castings are crap. And it's interesting, I was using some of my woodworking work in here because some of the vents, the bigger vents, the vent trucks, they're kind of big and they do a quick 180. So I was trying to do that with strip styrene of the right thickness, and I tried a hair dryer and it melted it, and then I tried hot water and it cracked. And then I says, you know what? Let me do this how I would do it in wood. And what I did is I laminated a bunch of lighter pieces together around the mandrel, glued them all together. When the glue dried, voila, I had my vents in the right configuration. So anyway, this is the base of stack 3. All of that is piping, hot and cold water piping that comes out of the tank room and goes into the number three funnel. I'm gonna try not to break it. I already broke one set. Let's do it this way. It's easier. Okay. Right there. Those are the 3D funnels. And if you notice, they're pretty good. They're actually very good. They've got all of the plate lines on them. They even got the rivet heads on them. And this is 1 to 350. So that's pretty incredible. And those go on next. So in preparation for doing that, each funnel had 12 guy wires that went down to the deck. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it in 1 to 350 scale. And I don't even know if you could see this on the camera. Maybe over here you can. What's going to happen is these guide wires are roughly 0.003 in diameter. Okay, 1.25 inches. All right. They were galvanized wires. All right, wire cable. All right. And they were tied off at the deck by hemp coils. So what I'm going to do is on the funnel end, because I'll never be able to get eye bolts in this scale or make eye bolts in this scale convincingly and consistently. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill holes in the funnels. I spoke to Gene about this. I'm drilling holes in the funnel, and I'm going to, I got one that I started. I don't even know if you could see it. We'll try it down here. I'll put it on white paper so maybe you could see it. There you go. You see that funnel in next to the scissor and the pin vise? You notice those little gray wires? All right. So what I did is I basically drilled number 78 holes in the funnel where the eye bolts would be, and then I pointed the number 8 fly tying thread, 805 fly tying thread. I pointed it with cyano. When it dried, I stuck it in the hole, and then I backed it up with some more cyano. So now you could see that what is effectively gray human hair becomes the guy wires, right? And then when it comes down to the deck, I'm making these coils out of 10 wire. What they are, they're just a looped coil. It's knotted. and I'm drilling holes in the deck. And what I'm using is I'm using the research that was done by Dr. Reed. Okay, and this is the research that he gave. Okay, and you notice it shows where all the guy wires go to the deck. So I'm using that as a plan to drill the holes for the bottom of the guy wires. And then I'm putting these loops. I'm putting these loops in the holes. And I'm sticking the knot through the hole and backing it up with cyano. And then when I put the funnel on and I'm attaching, I'll just knot the guy wire through the loop, through this loop that's now on the deck. And when I tighten it, when I snug it up, it'll look like a rope coil. And it took me a while to figure out how to do this consistently. The coils were driving me nuts because I was experimenting with different size holes, because what you have to do with these coils is you have to cut off the knots flush, and then you have to make the hole big enough that you could slide the knot through the hole, and then you back it up with cyano to plug it in there. And we'll see how it works. Hopefully next week, I'm going to be able to paint the funnels, and once I paint the funnels, I could start putting them on. But before I do any of that, because I've already knocked off a few pieces and had to put them back on already, before I do any of that, Dr. Reed's research paper also tells you where all of the landing points, all of the belaying points are for the shrouds and all of the standing rigging. So I'm going to make the holes and put the loops in for the standing rigging before I do anything else, because once the funnels go on and the guy wires are on, then it's going to be like rigging a regular ship, and anybody who does wooden models knows how much fun that can be. You know, so I'm going to have to put the photo etch hand railings on. So I'm going to put the loops on, then put the photo etch hand railings, get everything out of the way, and then I'll put the funnels on. Because once the funnels and those guy wires go on, there's no more touching. And that's it.
Very good, Tom. Very good. Hey, Tom,
Yeah,
what is Dr. Reed's first name?
Bob.
Okay, it's not somebody.
Robert, I'll tell you where it comes from. It's Titanic _ CAD _ plans, and I think he changed it to .web. All right, he has like 26 research papers. He has a full set of fully drawn CAD plans, all kinds of different views for the actual Titanic. He also has plans for the Olympic, and his papers talk about the difference among the three sister ships, Olympic, Britannic, and Titanic. And he also does full research, taking photos from the wreck and comparing them to plans and comparing them to contemporary photographs. And all of this for the pricely sum of free. And you know, it's just incredible work. Let me give me 2 seconds. Let me show you something.
All right.
We have any elevator? We have any elevator?
For example, I'll just show you this. I think we talked about this before. What he did is he laid out every single air handler and vent on the Titanic, where it belongs, and actually what it looked like. And I know the person that I'm building this model for will not know the difference, but the kit parts, first of all, they're clunky, all overscale, mostly overscale, number one. Number two, they're all identical, right? These cowl vents, there were identical ones. There were some that were a lot different from each other. For example, it came with precast fittings on the base of the number 4 stack. that I just cut off because they were all completely wrong. And I scratch built the replacements. So if you're into this stuff, the amount of research that's available is beyond belief. So when you search for the website, the CAD Plans website, he had to change it because the server owner changed and lost his original website. So he had to rebuild it. So it's still Titanic _CAD _plans. It used to be .com. That went away. Now I think it's .web. I think he changed it to.
Is he a modeler or is he more of a historian?
He's a dentist, but other than that, I don't know.
All right, thank you, Tom.
Okay.
You're welcome, guys.
Joe, do you have anything you want to talk about or show us?
Nothing as elaborate as Tom's work, but I can show you what I've done with Cheerful. Slow but sure coming. I'm going to share my screen.
Go ahead.
Lorenzo.
Hang on. I did it again.
You're still with us.
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
No, we can hear you. We just don't see anything yet.
Okay, here we go. I've got to move my camera. Don't get seasick. I'm not set up on the tripod. And I'll try to hold it still. I finally kicked myself and installed the bowsprit, and I had finished the cannon. Two of them are sitting on the deck. And I decided, I tried at the beginning, as Chuck did, to fashion the strop blocks at the tip of the bowsprit on the model, but my fat hands and unsteady hands, I didn't do very well. So I made this bizarre little jig, which I tend to do anyway, and I'm fashioning them all off the model. I had all the eye bolts glued to the model, and I had, of course, pull them out, re-drill the hole. And what I've done now is put everything under tension. And in the business end of this, I hope you can see it, is right here, where I have a elongated eye bolt in that little alligator clip, and the stropped and seized block in the jig, and those two posts have a slit cut down them, and I can insert a line and pull as much tension as I want. And the big challenge then is just to make it come out the same length for each one of the blocks. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here, but I'm finally into rigging. I guess that's what I want to say. And hope to have more. I had a lot of disruptions this past month, but that's where I am.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Greg, did you have something you wanted to add?
I did. I can't believe I almost forgot.
I can't believe.
Yeah. I'm sharing it says I'm sharing a picture. I don't know.
You are not on Zoom.
His iPhone.
Should be there. If this doesn't work, I'll just skip show part. respond to the tel part. Greg's iPhone. No.
No, I see him. Fine. Where'd he go?
There you go. Connected.
There we go. Okay. So that's actually not the right photo. Oh,
Which scale is it?
well. 1 to 1.
Is it boxwood or?
It's a combination of spruce pine fir and southern yellow pine. Actually, all of that would be southern yellow pine.
How much of a shear?
No, so it's only related to ship modeling in that most of the work that will be done in it will be support of ship models. See if I can get anyway, so that's not quite the most recent one, but it does show 2 walls. So they've both been handled except for the far right and left, which will be left open for reasons that'll not bother going over. The door opening and window opening are roughed out, paneled over, and tie back over it. They're ready to be raised. So the expense of interrupting. I hope no one was dead set on going to smoke or Plaza Azteca or whatever, because I'm offering free pizza, beer, soda, tea, whatever, for anyone who's willing to come over and help me raise these things.
We'll talk.
If you have a bad back or other infirmary and can't help actually raise it, you're still more than welcome to come over and have a free beer. All righty. So let me know after, and if we have enough people to lift it without risking injury, then awesome.
Very good. John, Mr.
I
Court.
have a question. I have a question for Greg.
Yes, go ahead.
Are you going to have that under controlled air? That shop?
Yes. Yes. I'm buying one of those mini split systems. They're expensive, but very efficient and less noisy. So, the compressor's on the outside, and there's just the refrigerant goes through the wall, and a blower on the inside. I have insulation and all that business. Everything being built to a code and being inspected by the city, of course.
Yeah. The reason I ask is,
so anyone who shows up and looks at it and says, "Oh my God, you're overbuilding this," yes, I know it, but that's okay.
the reason I'm asking is one of our members up here. I live out near Lake Ontario, but one of our members lives down on the Finger Lakes, and he had a really nice setup similar to what you're trying to do. Did not quite have it under air, but had it under heat. He did not. We have some humidity during the summer, but he ended up experiencing a lot of problems with warpage in his hulls. So are you going to do this 24/7?
Yeah, but it's mostly for the big shop tools I use for milling down the wood, and I'll probably end up keeping my small metal lathe and other stuff out there because my wife doesn't like the noise inside the house. But the actual models will still be inside my house. I have a room inside the house for where I'll be doing keeping the actual models.
I get it.
But yeah, it'll, it's to be environmental and not waste money. I will be keeping it like a fair minimum temperature in the winter and, warm, but not hot and steamy in the summer. And just like chill it down or warm it up when I go in to use it, as needed. Enough to keep the humidity down is the main thing.
All righty, thanks. Mr. Court, make yourself known. You want to talk about anything?
I don't think he has a speaker.
Yeah, he's not, he's just not there. All right, Anybody else have anything to show? All right, Sean, since you were asking, I'll go.
Awesome.
Okay,
Glad.
let me share. I too am into the rigging phase. And this is the status as it is currently. Okay. Lots of spider action there, lots of cobwebs. On the pontoon, the balsa boat and anchor rigging and so forth. And it just continues. Using a lot of photographs to reference, because I don't have a rigging plan. I had a couple of rigging plans for maybe some of the signal yards, but other than that, it's mostly photographs. So I know where most of the rigging starts, but finding where it's going to land on deck is kind of conjecture in most parts.
That's the issue.
Pardon?
That's Pat's issue with the Italian kid.
Yeah. So being the lazy sailor that I am, I'm just going to tie it off to the nearest fleet and figure that's got to be where it goes. And here's a close-up of the balsa boat rigging as it might have been. And some of these scenarios that I have here are backed up with actual photographs to kind of illustrate how it would have been seen. Here's a closer up coastal area. There. What is that?
We'll find it.
Well, not yet. And here's one of the outrigger booms for the boats. The model's going to be configured in water. I have it now permanently anchored to the sub deck, and then from here I'll build up insulation foam, maybe another 3/4 inch to bring it closer to the water line, and then that will be the foundation of water effects. And I'll do it from there. Put some boats in the water, maybe a couple more hanging from the davits. Another close up, my egret lying ahead. So lots of rigging. I'm about halfway through with the rigging at this point. Oh, lots of strings. Here's a nice wide back view. Got a new phone and it has a wide angle lens on it. Trick is getting the phone out of the boat once you drop it in there. That's an interesting picture of the accommodation ladders with its associated rigging and work. All right, then from here, I moved on to making, oh yeah, here's a little bit. What is it, flag hooks, things etched in brass. They're probably about, I don't know, an inch or smaller. All right, I turned all my, I had to go make some lights. I turned them out of acrylic rod and then outfitted them in brass. And the way in which I did that will come up just shortly. These are the NUC lights, which I think I queried John about. They're pictured, but I didn't have any more information other than a basic shape. And color was derived from just, I guess, conjecture. I mean, modern ships had a kind of a dual red and clear light arrangement. So I figured that they probably were the same, since NUC lights were either red or white, generally speaking. And they were hoisted up the mast and the associated rigging with it.
What are they made from?
Acrylic rod.
How did you call them?
Okay, I'm coming to that. Here's one chucked into my handy drill bit, and I had a little broken saw blade, which I used to then carve the Fresnels. And then, once I got that, then I drilled out the acrylic rods. These are about 1/4 inch in diameter. I drilled it out and then painted the inside, dropped a little bit of red paint in it so that it would look like it's translucent. You know, you'd have a clear coating rather than just painted on the outside.
I dyed mine.
And there's the basic lamps with the tops and bottoms to them. And then added some of the rigging components to it so I can hang them up in the rigging. And that's where they are now. There was an array of 8 lamps on the stern mast. And that's it. Maybe it's 2, whoops. All right.
What are these used for? Signaling?
Yeah, they're not under command lights, like day shapes, but only for night use. So I imagine they would have a variety of, number of lamps lit, so forth. They're not to be confused with fighting lights, like more modern vessels have. I don't think this. Oh yeah, there it goes.
Get it down. Get it down.
And that's it. That's all I got to say about that.
Is it an iPhone that you took pictures with?
What is that?
iPhone?
No, it's I got an Android. Yeah, they nice sharp image.
Yes.
I'd like to add one point that came to mind after I did my presentation last month. Another advantage of 3D printing is they can do mass production. Once you've got the rendering, you can knock out 1 billion of those. For example, like these lamps. Once you get the first one done, you've got 1 million done in one. They'll all be identical.
Yeah, originally I was going to cast these in clear resin. I made a mold and I cast it. I cast one and it came out reasonably well, but it wasn't as clear as acrylic rod would have presented. And besides, each casting would have taken about 10 hours for it to cure. So I said, the hell with that. I only had to make 8 of them. So I just broke an old blade I had in hardening.
Once you carved the last piece of it, did you polish it? Did you polish it in?
Not really. I didn't need to. It looks frosty there, but once you put a clear coat of clear acrylic paint on it, it just shines right back up.
For the future.
Yeah,
Was the lathe running at slow speed?
that's a hand drill.
And drill running at very slow speed?
Yeah, I just chucked a lot of clamp to it so I could run it fairly slow. But that's how that was made.
Very cool.
All right.
Well, the reason I asked about the color on there is that I recently tried to find colored acrylic rod.
I had that too.
You can't.
Oh, I got red and green. You need it? Yeah, red and green. Yeah.
No, I bought some special written dye, and you can dye acrylic rod any
Yeah.
color you want.
Well, the reason I went with the clear is because I wanted a dual lens in the unit, the red part and then the clear part. So I just drilled partially down through it and filled it with red paint, and it gives you the effect. That was something. So, anyways, what is that?
Yeah.
Where's the?
Right, you didn't put a light bulb.
Okay, there you go, John. That's for you. Oh, I broke one. I cracked it.
I'm back in the game, fellas.
All right, that's it. Stop sharing. All right, well, that concludes the meeting for show and tell. We'll go ahead and take a short break. and then come to the presentation. So Ryland will talk about the, what is it, about the,
Right.
okay.
And that's one of the things
I have half inch.
I was way behind something else.
I don't have a source.
Well, yours.
Yeah.
Is it a low?
So I don't